Baš volim zvijezde. Tata kaže da su neki ljudi već bili gore. Ići ću ja kad porastim. Malo pomalo sve se može.
Za male i velike želje. Akcija gotovinskih kredita bez naknade za obradu uz rok otplate do 10 godina. Banka za sve što vam je važno. Unikredit.
That song has become an anthem of resilience for a football club and a city. Liverpool, one of the poorest cities in all of Europe, ravaged by industrial decline and political isolation. A city that ironically has had to stand alone. At its very core is a football team and its fans, some of the most committed supporters in the world.
Being a football fan is not just for the Saturday, it's being a football fan for the week, and equally, being a citizen isn't just for the week and not on a Saturday. Being a citizen and a football fan all the way through.
Here, at its very roots, we can discover what it truly means to be a Liverpool fan.
I think this club stands for family, hard work, and dreams.
Liverpool, a city known across the world for a famous bird, pop music, the docks that once served an empire, and a football club. In the 1970s and 80s, Liverpool Football Club reigned supreme, winning an incredible 9 league titles. But 3 decades have passed since that last victory. For every Liverpool fan, 2020 is all about one thing: winning the Premier League.
There's fans now going to the game who weren't even born last time we won the league.
We all know how Liverpool have kind of come close before and it's kind of slipped through our fingers and all that.
I've been waiting my whole Liverpool supporting life to sit here and say that Liverpool are going to win the league, and we're finally going to do it.
Next, please.
Home baked in the shadows of Liverpool's Anfield Stadium is a cooperative cafe. It's owned by the community and is the embodiment of what it means to come from this city.
And your pie and mash and gravy will come down the steps in a minute.
Kathy Alderson, retired nurse and lifelong Liverpool fan, volunteers behind the counter on match days.
We know when they've scored as well, because you can hear the roar, and it's brilliant to be so close to the ground. And here's your clock.
There are actually 2 teams in Liverpool, the other being Everton, who play in blue.
Hunger wears no club colours is the motto. You don't have to be a red to be here. We've got several blues behind me, but we all believe in local people and keeping the money local if we possibly can, reinvest in our own society. That's Mildred, one of our volunteers, our eldest volunteer. Mildred, do you support Liverpool or Everton?
Everton.
Oh, Everton. Oh, sorry, I asked now.
Best team.
No.
Best team.
On match days, outside the stadium, there's a food bank project which also harnesses fan power. As a lifelong Liverpool supporter, Joe Blott's mission is about more than just being a fan.
And whilst there were some great glories on the pitch here, there's some really hard times. Being part of a football club is also being part of a community. And why we do this, why we do fan support at Verbanks. You know, football fans can be a really powerful force for good. That's the community spirit that we really believe in.
Tonight, a Champions League match against Atletico Madrid.
Could go either way, but we've got the 12th man, haven't we? We've got the crowd behind them. And I think the cop sometimes just sucks that ball into the goal when we're kicking up our end, so let's hope.
Unfortunately for Liverpool, despite dictating the match, they lose and are knocked out of Europe. The result is a setback, but for the fans, the holy grail this season lies elsewhere.
That's our sort of motto, believe, believe. And we were pipped at the post a couple of times recently, and to get it this season, fingers crossed, nothing happens. Will be absolutely mega, because I'm old enough to remember when we did win the league 18 times.
One of the many stars from that title-winning team was a young Dane who was quickly adopted by the fans.
Mulvey all the way into the penalty area. What a goal! Jan Mulvey with a 40-yard burst. An absolutely unstoppable shot. He went past 3 players.
I look older than 3 on that picture.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
I don't remember any of it, unfortunately.
His home is a shrine to the glory days he enjoyed at Anfield.
This one here is meant to be my last Liverpool shirt ever. 1995, we played against Coventry City, we lost 3-2. I scored. But that's meant to be that one. We have another cup final here, 1989, which is against Everton. The fans come up to you and tell you, loved the 1986 FA Cup final, or loved the goal against Manchester United.
But as well as the footballing highs and lows, Jan remembers the culture shock of first arriving from Denmark.
I think it's fair to say that the city in many ways was on its knees. What was keeping the city going was the spirit of the people and, of course, the Liverpool Football Club. They sort of pretty quickly let you know that I'm not actually doing them a favour by joining them. They are doing a favour by allowing me to play for Liverpool Football Club. And I think that goes all the way back to Bill Shankly when he announced that the football club belongs to the fans and we play for the fans.
Since I come here to Liverpool or to Anfield, I've drummed it into our players time and again that they are privileged to play for you. And if they didn't believe me, they believe me now.
Bill Shankly ran the team for 15 years from 1959 to 1974, dragging the club from the second division to the very top of English football.
Oh, Bill Shankly was our greatest manager ever. Everybody loves Shankly.
He instilled in them before they went out onto the pitch to say, you're playing for them, you're not playing for you. And it was kind of a socialist approach in terms of the way he believed that working together, you got the best outcome.
This is his ode to socialism. Shankly's, Toshak's, Keegan's FA Cups and league titles. The European Cups to follow, all built on a collective ethos of hard work and sacrifice.
His ideology was everybody gets a share of everything, you know, everybody together. I mean, he really got Liverpool as well.
Liverpool in the 1960s felt like the centre of the earth in many ways. You know, you've got the music scene, both football teams were doing well. You know, there's a lot going on.
Simon Hughes is a sports journalist, and he's also written about the history and politics of the city.
You shift forward 20 years into the 1980s and the city's status as a major port had declined rapidly in that period. You've got to go back and understand the history of the city. It was the second biggest port in the British Empire. The city was built on, slavery and trade, basically, and that was the starting point of the city's wealth. But the city's wealth was built at the expense of huge suffering. A lot of the working class people who worked on the docks were Irish immigrants who grew up with a certain level of resentment for the British government. I'd say anti-establishment.
The city's decline began after the Second World War, as the British Empire shrank.
Every day people would go to the docks and not know whether they were going to be working. The culture of casualisation has a massive impact on the way people sort of felt. They didn't have the standard framework which other people in other parts of the country did have.
The docks were split in two, like anywhere else in the city. Half Liverpool, half Everton.
Fervent Liverpool fan and former trade union activist Tony Nelson spent almost 3 decades working on the docks.
It wasn't unusual for men to go to watch Everton one week and Liverpool the other. And I think there was more comradeship between the two. Anyone who says politics should be left out of football, doesn't know about football, doesn't know about politics. In this city, it's not going to happen.
In the early 1980s, the Conservative government saw socialism in Liverpool as a cancer that must be surgically removed before it could spread. For the first time in British history, politicians would try to bring a city and its population to their knees.
What Liverpool needed was investment and help, and instead what it got was Margaret Thatcher.
To those waiting with bated breath for that favourite media catchphrase, the U-turn, the ladies not for turning.
She just had it in for Liverpool. We know now that she told Heseltine to manage the decline of the city, just let us fade away. But I think she picked on the wrong city, didn't she? We're pretty much a socialist city. We stand shoulder to shoulder, look after each other. And Margaret Thatcher didn't, nobody was that keen on her here.
The 1980s was the defining decade in Liverpool's history as a city. Mass unemployment, bigger than anywhere else in the country.
While the city struggled, Liverpool Football Club rose like a phoenix from the ashes, a seemingly invincible team. But it too would suffer a body blow.
The game was just 6 minutes old when a policeman drew the referee's attention to what was happening at the Leppings Lane end of the ground.
I'd just come home from work. Somebody had rang me up and said, "You turn the TV on."
One report says a gate was kicked in. Another has claimed it was opened by staff at the ground. Many fans died.
On the 15th of April 1989, in an FA Cup semi-final at a neutral ground, Liverpool fans were caught in Europe's worst sporting catastrophe, Hillsborough.
And at the time, I was a night sister on accident and emergency down at the Royal there. And about 10 o'clock that night, the walk-in wounded who'd managed to get themselves back from Sheffield.
There was considerable confusion and much fright and anger.
The look in their eyes of having seen something terrible, which obviously they had done, and they were shocked and they were upset, and they were saying it wasn't us, we weren't pushing anybody, the police wouldn't let us out. So we knew from the start how bad it was.
In reality, the police gave orders to open an extra gate, allowing fans to flood into an already crowded stand. In the resulting crush, 96 people were killed.
The people of Liverpool understood almost immediately that they were getting set up by the establishment, the media, the police and politicians.
In the weeks that followed, the same government whose policy was the managed decline of Liverpool secretly asked the police to feed Britain's best-selling newspaper, The Sun, with false information.
People were blaming the fans and saying they'd pushed the gate down and they were crushing their own people, and people believe what they read in the paper, and we didn't feel at all supported at the time. The whole city just came together.
Whether that was about grief or whether that was about challenging the authorities and challenging the terrible things that have gone on in the court and the lack of public support through government.
In April 2016, after a 27-year fight for justice, an inquest finally ruled that the supporters were unlawfully killed due to grossly negligent failures by police.
I believe all what was going on in the 80s manifested itself in the cover-up of Hillsborough, because they believed football supporters in general and the people of Liverpool, they deserved what they got.
Even now, more than 3 decades later, no one has been punished for the events of that day.
Hillsborough's the basis for the politicisation of a lot of younger people in Liverpool now. A lot of people say politics and football don't mix. I've never subscribed to that, and very few people in Liverpool do, partly because of Hillsborough. You know, you can't separate that event from politics. I think that feeds into Anfield on a match day.
In Liverpool, politics even plays its part on the football pitch itself. After scoring in a European match in 1997, star striker Robbie Fowler pulled up his top to reveal a message of support for striking Dockers.
I'm proud of the fact that he did that. I'm also proud of the fact that he was supporting Liverpool Dockers. It was important to him, it was important to us that he was showing his solidarity.
But the fact that he was one of the biggest names in the Premier League at the time, and his Scouse roots, isn't it? People would turn up outside Anfield and I'll go, hey Jan, do me a favour on Thursday, the kids' football team presentation. And it wasn't, can you do it? It was, and that was what was required of you. And it's exactly the same when you have these disputes. So the Docker dispute, somebody would turn up at Anfield or at Melwood and they go, hey Jan, here's a t-shirt, wear that for the lads. Yeah? It's not as if, can you do us a favour or whatever. It's not, listen, because this is what we do, isn't it? And you would never ever shy away from them.
Managed political decline and industrial decay left Liverpool alienated from the rest of the country. In August 2019, that mood found a voice at Wembley, the home of English football.
At the start of this season, you had the booing of the national anthem, and there's outrage amongst the rest of the country, and I was like, this has been coming for years, this.
I think as Scousers, we're a bit special, we're not going to have it. We stand together. We're not English, we're Scouse, so we've got more in common with Dublin and Glasgow and Newcastle than we have with London, so yeah.
Liverpool fans have always been defiant. When 2 American venture capitalists who owned the club mismanaged the finances, fans rose up against them.
All the things that Shankly had built up was being dismantled by corporate greed.
The fans won their battle in the High Court, effectively running the owners out of town. They'd saved the club for the next generation, like Teddy, Joe's 6-year-old grandson.
Great goal!
But each generation of Scousers has to make a choice between the red and the blue.
The great thing about this city is, despite the rivalries, whole families are split down the middle, reds and blues. So it's not unusual to have a mix of Liverpool and Everton fans, and we do have the friendliest derby because it is a family issue. The first game I had to endure was an Everton game because my uncle was an Everton fan. But luckily, my dad made me see sense.
Everything about this city is coloured by football. The council even chose purple for their bins, combining the red and the blue.
The football is part of the beating heart of Liverpool.
Derby Day. Liverpool versus Everton. The city is divided.
It's the biggest game for a Liverpool fan.
I don't like the derby. I always worry, you know, I want them to win so badly that I can't enjoy it.
With 9 games to go, Liverpool need just 6 points and their 30-year title wait will be over. Surely nothing can stop them this time. But in early 2020, the world turned red, and for all the wrong reasons.
The whole world needs to take action.
You must stay at home.
The coronavirus threw everything into question.
Christian, just a final question. Do you think that the Premier League season is going to be finished?
We have no idea. Let's hope so.
And with it, Liverpool's title charge. There was even talk of cancelling the season altogether. Weeks became months, but on the 17th of June, the Premiership was back on. And so was the derby.
I'm a blue. Everton!
Liverpool! I've got lots of family and friends who are Everton fans, so do I really want to rub it in? Sort of.
Covering the match will be the Anfield Wrap, a hugely popular podcast for Liverpool fans all around the world. Lizzie Doyle, one of the producers, is a die-hard fan herself.
Derby Day is my favourite fixture of the whole year, but it's also my most hated fixture of the whole year because the nerves and like the sort of anticipation and like the almost anger that you get on Derby Day is unlike any other. It's very much a pride thing in Liverpool, and on the whole we usually think that Liverpool are going to win and we just sort of predict how we think they're going to win.
This will be a weird one because it's under lockdown, there's no fans. And it matters very, very much to us this time because if we get a win here, we're that little step closer to getting the league. So it will be a sticky one to watch.
Just watching the Merseyside derby, Liverpool versus Everton. Always a nerve-wracking experience,
I can't stand this.
but even more so tonight with so much at stake for Liverpool.
Oh,
Ended 0-0,
oh dear.
no real chances to talk about. Everton hit the post.
It was a mad game. It was a very typical derby.
Bloody Goodison.
Liverpool probably still need 2 wins to secure the Premier League crown.
They've come agonisingly close in recent years, only to fall at the last hurdle.
You know, there's been near misses, 2014 being the worst of that, you know, Steven Gerrard slipping over, you know, that was just a heartbreaking moment.
I'm 98% sure that they'll get it. It's been a long time coming. I can remember the days when we won the league and the joy of all that.
I want that for the generations of Liverpool fans who've thirsted for this and seen just how good we were in the 80s.
For me, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Liverpool will be champions this year, and I can't believe I'm sitting here saying it.
Around the city, the excitement is building. Last night, Liverpool beat Crystal Palace. If Manchester City fail to beat Chelsea tonight, Liverpool's 30-year wait will finally be over.
Liverpool use this slogan saying this means more, and when you watch Liverpool lift that Premier League trophy, you will see why this means more to this football club. This sort of unity that we have between each other, I think because Liverpool's always been the outsider, we've always been outcasts to the rest of England, that we've sort of like stuck together through the thick and thin. I've been waiting for it for so long that I can't believe it's actually here.
Come on, come on, come on.
Yeah!
I feel absolutely amazing. I can't believe it's actually happened.
We've done it. 30 years. We've done it. Brilliant.
For more than a generation, this city has experienced highs, lows, and near misses on the pitch as well as political battles and tragedies off it.
It's been a long time coming, but it finally came.
Now they can paint the town red. The people of Liverpool have hope in their hearts. This one song, written by Rodgers and Hammerstein, has carried the spirit of Liverpool through triumph and disaster.
Well, You Never Walk Alone is my favourite song anyway. It's a song that's been sung over the years by civil rights campaigners.
I always get choked to a degree when you sing about hope. We all need hope in our life to get through the tragedies, to get through the daily grind of being in one of the most poverty-stricken areas in the country.
It's our anthem, you know, and the words mean a lot.
It's become a massive part of it. 4 minutes before the game, for everybody to give it everything they got.
And that makes us feel as though that we are that 12th man.
The day Liverpool were confirmed champions, their points tally was 96. The same number as those who died at Hillsborough.